Hello and welcome to the Change in Future sessions with Scottish Widows for Pension Awareness Day. Now we at Channel 4 are delighted to partner with Scottish Widows as they help you plan for your future, and we have lots more to come. We're pleased you could join us for the Scottish Widows Change in Future sessions, and I hope it'll answer any questions that you may have about your financial future. Now, over to the experts.
Hi, and thanks for joining our Changing Futures session. I'm Andre, a retirement specialist at Scottish Widows, and today we're going to be answering some questions about planning for your financial future if you're self-employed. Normally for Pension Awareness Week, we tour the UK talking to people about their future finances. This year, we've got a packed week of online sessions to help as many people as possible. We're here to help you get to grips with your pension and retirement options, and the first question that people say is, why bother with a pension? They're so complicated. But the reality these days is that pensions are simple. They're just long-term tax-efficient savings. They're long-term because you can't currently access them until you're 55 years of age. And that's a really good thing, because if everybody could access their pensions before 55, then they would all access their pensions before 55. So having a long-term savings account that you're paying into for when you decide to stop work but still need an income to maintain that lifestyle you want to lead, that's a really positive thing, and that's why you should bother with a pension, and I'm here to help. I can only provide guidance, and if you do need any advice, we recommend that you speak to a financial advisor. But we have got a team standing live, ready to answer any questions, so please ask as we go. If you're self-employed, it's easy to start saving, and it's important to make sure you're ready for retirement. We've seen a few challenges highlighted from our most recent retirement report, and here's some background. Currently, there are around 5 million self-employed people in the UK, and that makes up around 15% of the workforce. We know COVID-19 has had a huge effect, particularly on the self-employed, with 43% seeing a drop in income. And whilst the government's income support scheme has helped, it only began in June 2020, and 500,000 people have only been self-employed for less than 2 years. So received no help. These challenges pull through to retirement savings. Only 39% of self-employed are adequately saving for retirement, compared to over 60% of employed workers. And in fact, over 34% are not actually saving anything into a pension. This lack of adequate savings could mean they face substantial savings gaps in retirement. So how can we help? Well, let's start with, what is a pension? Well, as we now know, pensions are simple. They're just long-term tax savings, tax-efficient savings. But as well as your contributions, the government is adding into your pension through tax relief. More on that in a minute. And it's not just contributions that increase the size of your pension fund. It's also the investments that you're making in stocks and shares, bonds and cash. And it's your money, so you need to know where it's invested. Finally, it's your savings, so you get to decide how much money you put in. You get to choose where it's invested, and most importantly, you get to choose how you access it. It's your money, it's your investment, it's your savings, so it's important to take some ownership over it. Now, to understand your savings plans better, let's start with contributions. So how do pension contributions actually work? Well, let's assume you decide to pay £100 into your pension every month. But you don't actually put in £100, because the way a pension works is this: you get your monthly earnings, you then remove your tax, you remove your national insurance, and at that point you make a pension contribution. But the taxman, HMRC, can see what you've done, and he says that's a fantastic thing to do. Paying into pension is great. It's such a good idea that amount of basic rate tax I've taken off you, I'm going to give it you back. I'm going to put it into your pension. So in reality, you're just putting £80 into your plan. Now, let's look at that in a slightly different way. If I were to come up to each and every person and say, give me £80 and I'll give you £100 in return, how many of you would actually take me up on that offer? If you're a higher rate taxpayer, you can also benefit from higher rate tax relief. And this happens for every contribution you make, whether it's monthly contributions or a one-off single contribution. So it quickly adds up over time. Now, this is based on you making contributions from your personal account. But if you were to pay as a limited company from your business bank account, you're going to be able to save on corporation tax, national insurance, and dividend tax. The earlier you start, the better. It gives you more time to contribute, more time to benefit from this tax relief, and more time for your savings to grow. Starting early could more than double your pension pot, but as Joe Wicks would say about exercising, it's never too late to start. Another popular question we're always asked is, how much should I save into my pension? Scottish Widows recommends that you save up to 12% of your earnings every month, but this is a personal decision. Depends on your individual circumstances and what you can afford. But by increasing your pension contributions, irrespective of how old you are, it can have dramatic effects on your pension pot in later life. Increasing by only a few percent can give you tens of thousands more into your savings plan for when you need it most. Now, there are some assumptions here that you're on a salary of £24,000 and you're paying in an extra 4% every year. It's an annual management charge of 0.75% and a retirement age of 65. And the investments that you're making are assumed to grow at around 2.5% per annum. These figures are used via the Pay More calculator on scottishwidows.co.uk. It's also important to regularly review your contribution levels and your fund value. Now, everyone will tell you that you need to think about your retirement. Spending more time with friends and family, taking up new hobbies. What are you going to be doing when you retire? Now, I think there's a couple of issues with this. The first is that that's really hard. Trying to think about what you're going to be doing when you're 65 years old is really difficult. I don't know what I'm doing this weekend, let alone in 20 or 30 or 40 years' time. Also, you look at all those things that you're going to be doing in retirement, and I always look at them and I think to myself, can't I do any of them now? Well, why can't I do any of them now? I want to go travelling. Are you retired? No. Well, forget it. You can't go travelling until you're retired. So what you need to think about is your current lifestyle. What is it that you like and enjoy doing now? And what do you want to maintain doing as you get older and start to think about stopping work and reducing your income? Also, it's the length of time people are now not working, and that's increasing. It used to be around 10 years and now it's nearer 20 or even 30 years without an income. One of the things it also mentions there is less reliance on the state, and I just want to touch on that very briefly. So if you're self-employed, you're also entitled to the state pension, and the same as anyone else's. But how many people know exactly what the state pension is? Well, for the current tax year, 2020-2021, it's £175.20 per week. That's just over £9,000. Again, let's look at that in a slightly different light. Imagine if your salary was reduced to £9,000 now. How's that going to affect the lifestyle you lead? What are you going to compromise on because your income in retirement is so much lower than your income in your working life? What are the things you're going to have to stop doing because you don't have the income to support that? Now, to get the state pension, you need to have 35 years of national insurance contributions. If you have less than 10, you get nothing. And between 10 and 35, you'd get a prorated amount of it. So it's really important that any self-employed individuals pay themselves a small salary to ensure they're making at least the minimum level of Class 2 national insurance contributions. The later you leave it, the more money you could potentially get from the state pension. And remember, you do need to claim it. Now, there's not just one state pension. It depends on when you were born. It could be getting your state pension perhaps into your late 60s. You can get a state pension forecast and more information from the government websites on screen now. So that's the state pension, and now we realise how important it is to get a private pension. Most people will start a pension through their employer, but being self-employed, you'll have to take out a private pension with a provider such as Scottish Widows. There are generally two types of private pension. A personal stakeholder plan, that's offered by most large providers. It'll have a limited range of investments, but there will be a charge cap on there. You can also look at a self-invested pension where there's far greater fund choice, but usually comes with higher charges. So with a private pension, you choose where you want your money to be invested from the range of funds offered by the provider. You choose how much to pay in and when. So 12% of your monthly salary, or just whenever it suits you. Of course, you have other options as well, like continuing to work, using property as a retirement income, or another savings vehicle like an ISA. However, savings should never be an either or conversation. I'm either going to be in pensions or in property. It needs to be as well as statement. It's not pensions or property, it's pensions as well as property to provide an income when you stop working. So, what are you going to do now? You've set up your private pension, you're contributing 12% of your earnings, you know that this is simple. There's going to be a couple of things which you want to do next. The first is you want to keep a track of how it's performing and how much you've got in your pension. And one of the simplest ways you can do that is through your annual benefit statement. Your provider will send you this once a year as long as they have the most up-to-date address for you, so it's worth checking. This statement will also provide an indication of how much you might get at retirement. So you might want to look at making changes to the amount you're saving based on that information. If you can, sign up to access your savings online. If you have a Scottish Widows pension, you can do it at the website scottishwidows.co.uk. And as Scottish Widows is part of Lloyds Banking Group, some customers will be able to check their pension fund value alongside any other savings or investments accounts they may have within the wider Lloyds family, such as Halifax or Bank of Scotland. This could be mortgages, investments, savings and pensions. Across the lifetime, people will have on average around 11 jobs, so it can be easy to lose track of your pension. But there are some simple ways to track down or trace any lost pensions. The first, contact your old pension provider if you can remember who it was, and they'll be able to help. Number two, if it was from a previous employment, contact that employer and ask them for some details. And finally, number three, if you don't have any of that information, the government has a free pension tracing website. So just Google "Find My Lost Pension" and go to the government website. After tracking down any of your old pensions, the most common question we're always asked is, can I combine it with my existing plan? And that might make it easier to manage and perhaps could save you money, although it might not be for everyone. If you are looking to combine, you need to check a few things. Make sure you can transfer it and that you won't lose out on any benefits, guarantees or special features by moving it. You'll need to compare any pension charges and also think about where you can find the best range of investment funds for you. A financial advisor can help if you do have any questions about combining, usually for a fee for that service. Try Unbiased to find one, but also check out the Scottish Widows Pension Transfer website for some further guidance and support. As well as your annual benefit statement, there are loads of great calculators to use that can help you see what your savings could become. You can look at the Money Service Advice Pension Calculator, or you could look at the Scottish Widows Your Future Self website, where answering just 4 simple and short questions can show you when you could retire, how you're shaping up, and, if you're brave, what you could look like when you do retire. Go to scottishwidows.co.uk/your future self and to see for yourself. So let's look at your pension options about how to access your money. Since 2015, you've been able to access your private pension through new government legislation called Pension Freedoms. This changed the 2 fundamentals aspects of taking your money: how and when. So people used to retire like this. You used to join a company, work there for 40 years, and at 65, in line with state retirement age, you used to turn up to work on a Friday, get a gold watch, have a big party, and then on Monday, never work again for the rest of your life. Your pension savings would buy something called an annuity, which would give you a guaranteed income for the rest of your life. It's what we call a retirement waterfall. I'm going to work, and then I'm going to stop working at this point here. But this way of working and retiring is becoming few and far between. More and more people are saying, as I work, I'm going to get to a point where actually I don't want to do 5 days a week. I want to get 3 days a week or 4 days a week. And I want to ease part-time into an area where actually I'm not working anymore. But at that point, after I've gone travelling and I've enjoyed my spare time, I might want to take on a bit of part-time work, and that part-time work's fantastic. I'm going to take over the world again, and suddenly it's at a full-time job, at which point you're going to do part-time work and retire again. We see a huge number of these late-stage second careers, and it's what we call a retirement wave as you're approaching older age. And what you need is flexibility of income to match your requirements to maintain the lifestyle you want to lead across this retirement wave. So the government created options. They created this flexibility, and the first thing they did is said you can access your money from the age of 55. And what this has done is separated pensions and retirement. You don't need to retire to access your pension. You don't need to access your pension if you want to retire. These are two completely separate things now. And from age 55, you can access your money even if you're not working. You can access your money even if you're paying into the same pension that you're taking money through. They also created options of how to take your money. So nowadays, you've got 4 options. The first is you can just leave it. You don't need to access it at 55. If you just don't need it, you don't need to access it and you don't need to take it. You can now take all or some of your money in cash, although that could potentially have some very serious tax consequences. You now have something called flexible access as well as an annuity, which is essentially taking your money along your retirement wave whenever you want or need it. You also can have a combination of all 3 options. It's your money. So from the age of 55, how do you want to spend it? It's up to you. It's taking ownership of your savings plan. Scottish Widows strongly recommends discussing your pension freedom options with a financial advisor before any decision is taken. Now, we're here to help. So there are a number of key organisations you might find helpful in planning for retirement, and they're all on screen now. So what's next? We have loads more fantastic sessions over Pension Awareness Week. Next up, we're looking at why saving when you're young can help maximise your pension savings. Thanks for joining. Hope you've found it useful. Just remember, pensions are simple.